everyone, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Biha Care. Today we are joined by Osasu Edobor, a social activist and gender advocate. She is the founder of THR Hub, a social enterprise using new media and technology solutions in helping women and girls break free, find shelter, and recover from sexual and gender-based violence, which includes domestic violence, trafficking, and other types of exploitation. She is also the curator of the HERfessions app, an anonymous online platform that connects survivors of domestic and sexual violence to receive support and counselling. Hi, Osasu. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Chinelo. It's good to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about THR Hub and HERfessions?
So, just like you said, the focus of as a web summary, the focus of THR Media is finding ways to use technology and new media to provide solutions for women. To break free from the vices that are sexual gender-based violence. So a lot of what we deploy would be how do we create how does technology work for us, how, for example, all the things that we use, how if technology can be used to buy and sell, how can we use it to get women to find help, for these ills that is gender-based violence. So that brings me to speak on HERfessions, which is one of our creations regarding just finding solutions. And HERfessions app, basically, it's a platform. It's currently on Google Play Store, and there contains resources for people who have experienced domestic violence, who have experienced rape, and just basically finding the varying opportunities or help, right? The service providers who can help them. So if you're looking for shelter, if you're looking for where to go for health needs, or if you're looking for legal help, or just generally just finding a community of people who understand what you've been through, who can provide support for you, then the HERfessions app is where to go. Some of the things, some of the unique features of it is that it's also for it helps people with disabilities. So it reads. It's so for the hearing impaired. Sorry, for the sight. For people without their sight, it reads to you. But another thing about it is also that it protects your privacy. So it's anonymous. You don't have to go there, with your name or anything, because that's one of the things that is attached to abuse, the stigma of it, right? So it's an anonymous platform that women can use, to get help and all of that.
That's really great. Um, So, in your own terms, can you explain to our listeners what is domestic violence and/or abuse?
Okay. So I'm not going to use textbook terms. I'm going to use terms that people can recognize, because I realize that some people, when you tell them that, if you say, are you in an abusive relationship, they'll tell you no. But all of the signs are there, all of the symptoms are there. So a domestic abuse case or relationship is one where you really literally do not have a voice, where you're scared of your partner, whether if you either you're scared to be hit or scared to make a contribution because to have an adverse effect as simple as silent treatment, um, where you don't have resources, you don't have control of the resources. It's either you are denied financial help, or even your own resources, you don't have control over it. So domestic abuse is comes in different forms. It can be emotional, such that you do not get the support that you should get from a partner, um, or you're afraid, literally. So it's either simple things like you can't hang out with friends any longer, or being isolated from people that you knew before, or even from family and friends. There are women who are married who can't go to their parents or to their sisters at will. They have to take permission, and even when that is done, they still can't go ahead. So basically, all of that, is abuse, where you are not free to be yourself. A relationship is supposed to be a relationship of love and understanding and communication. So when you are in a relationship that deprives you of that love, understanding, and communication, to a large extent, that is what it represents. So I've described emotional abuse. It can also be physical. I think that's what people know. If
Yeah.
so you hear things, and I want to use balances that we are familiar with. So someone will say to a woman, if a woman, for example, is complaining, and they will say to her, "Does he hit you?" And if you say no, "Does he provide for the children?" And you say yes, then they'll ask you, "What is wrong with you? What again are you looking for?" Because marriage, as it were, is defined as, oh, he didn't hit you. But there are other things beyond physical abuse. So yes, physical abuse is that maybe someone punches you, slaps you. Now, physical abuse is even more subtle than you being hit. It can also be that he's so angry, he's breaking things, he's throwing things at you. So it doesn't mean that they have to slap you or kick you or hit you. It can just be as a way of showing their own turmoil, as it were. They smash things. So I've heard of people who their phones have been smashed. Their their valuables have been trashed and burnt. That's physical abuse. So yes, so there's that. Financial, we have an idea. So there are women who, they are in their homes, they don't have control of their own money. They have to take permission from, and by they don't have control of their money, it's not that they're in a joint account, but it's just the fact that they do not have a say on how to spend their money. Or even when they do not have money, they are deprived, such that the spouse, and a lot of times I'm referring to domestic violence, I'm talking about women. Because yes, while there are men who suffer these things, a lot of the largest percentage of people who fall into the category of being abused are women. Right. So like I was saying, so if you have a husband or a spouse or a living partner who deprives you of, money, he doesn't give you any money, you ask and you are deprived, that's financial abuse. So I've literally I've explained emotional, explained physical, I've explained financial, and those are, I know there are a lot more. I'm trying to juggle my memory to make sure that I have all of that giving up. But basically, that's all of these things are domestic abuse, domestic violence. That's what they constitute, right? So that's just a little way to explain it.
Okay. I like how you broke it down to actual things that people do. Most times people say that it's very difficult to spot the signs of abuse in relationships and they don't realize it until they are married and or it's too late. How do you think that people can spot the signs in relationships?
Okay, fantastic. So fantastic. So I'm of the opinion that, well, so these things are some. I would say that this is my opinion. What I'm going about
Yeah.
to say. A lot of times, truth be told, the signs are there. A lot of times, however, in the course of work, in the time that I've done, in the period of working, and just experience with people, I realized that there's some people who fall into abusive marriages. The signs were never there. What happened was what I would call acculturation, meaning um, everybody evolved and someone just evolved and had a turnaround, as it were. So more often than not, yes, the signs were there. So I'll speak to what the signs could have been that you probably didn't look out for. But I'm also at the point where I'm not giving blanket statements to cover everything. So yes, there's some people genuinely have seen a few cases that, and they are the exception, right? Where they don't have This, it wasn't there. The sign was never there. They didn't see that. Yes, there were a bit of, but the sign was basically not never there, and it was just a matter of evolving and growing apart. And so that began to happen. So I haven't laid that foundation. There are a couple of signs. And they're simple things like, how does he treat people? Just how does he treat people? If he's if he yells at anybody, if he yells at anybody that he loves, how does he treat people he loves? And how does he treat people he hates, or he dislikes? Hate is a strong word. So how does he treat people he loves, and how does he treat people that he has a disregard for? That's how you would know how he will treat you in the long run, right? So particularly for people that he loves, if he feels, if he's, and is he possessive? Those are signs. Is he possessive? People, we sometimes we look at possession as jealousy, and there's a thin line. There's a very thin line, but it's obvious. You can tell. So if you're a driven woman and all of a sudden you are with someone who doesn't like you going out, doesn't want you having male friends, but he has some female friends, doesn't want you, particularly if you are, because I know women who they have more male friends than female friends. That's a debate on its own. But I know people who have that, which and that's someone like me. However, if he's not comfortable around your friends, that's also another sign. Why isn't he comfortable around your friends? Because at the end of the day, when you are getting married, your company, your life can't revolve around your marriage alone, right? Your life can. So how is he? So I'm just stating like different things.
Yeah.
So how is he around? Like I said, how is he around your friends? Does he name call? Is he does he constantly checking up on you where you are? What you're doing. That's a red flag. Things like does not respecting your boundaries, your personal boundaries. If you say, I don't want this done, someone trying to constantly cajole you to do things or make your own opinion small wherever he is, or someone who you have a little quarrel with. I'm trying very hard not to label them and give you English names to this, but just scenarios that you can hit it and say, oh my God, this happened, or someone who is angry with you and then, for example, they shut you out. I always find it very manipulating, that someone can, as it were, we say it in Nigerian parlance, is keeping malice, but if you are able to if you have someone like that who can literally shut you out, that's a sign, because it means that, because marriage amplifies things, right? Whatever it is that you don't like about someone before you get married, trust me, before you get married, that thing multiplied by 1 million or 1,000. Yeah, but I'm serious. I'm serious. Like, multiplied by 1 million is me trying to exaggerate. But yeah, for the purpose of this let me exaggerate. Multiplied by 1 million, that's what it's going to be, because marriage actually amplifies things. So marriage will amplify the good stuff, and marriage will also amplify the bad stuff. And that's why the good stuff, right, are taken for granted. So people take their partners for granted, and that's what the good stuff is. But the bad stuff, they're going to be amplified. So you want to check all those things. Is he constantly pressuring you to do stuff, that you don't want to do? Constantly pressuring you, making their own opinions higher than yours. How does he? How does he protect you? How does he respect your opinion? So those are the little things that you want to check out for. And then now that you're looking at, okay, what are the signs to avoid, you know, because at the end of the day, so I'm taking this as a point to say, well, most relationships leads to marriage, but the relationships that don't lead to marriage, and they are, you want to also look at, what is his relationship with his family, because if he relates, the way he relates with his family is the way he's going to relate with you. You become family. So those are, just some of the things that, once someone is with you and you don't feel good about yourself, what's your self-esteem like around this person? Those are signs. Those are simple things that, how good do you feel around this person? Is the person proud of you, or does the person self-esteem, is the person self-esteem affected because of you in a bad light, such that the person, you can tell that the person has low self-esteem or is trying to always put you down just to feel, to have some level of. So those are things that you want to check and, be, so it looks like a tall list, but trust me, there are people who don't, have to go through all of that, and yeah, so that's like, some of the signs that I will share.
It's a tall list, but it's very necessary.
Yeah, very, very.
Yeah. Let's talk about marriages. When people already find themselves in such situations where they've gotten married and then they realize that the person is abusive, like, what are the things to do or not to do? Because everyone always has opinions of what should be done, but most times the victims are living in fear and thinking about their lives, their children, and more. So, what are your thoughts?
So I'll start my response um with something very different from what this from well, just a little slightly different opinion, and I'll say that adversity is good. Adversity is good. And I say that for a lot of reasons. A lot of times we are scared of the unknown. We are scared of, what people will say. We are scared of, that's like the cultural bias that is the problem. And that's why it feels like when you are in a crossroad, you are you are worried. You're not worried about how you will turn out. You are more worried about what people will say than not. So that's why I said adversity is good. So, because if we take away what people will say about it, the truth of the matter is that you will learn and you will grow through it. Check, nothing, there's nothing, not a any no phenomenon, nothing in this life has not had to go through a training. Even gold, for example, you want gold, you have to put it through the furnace, right? So the truth of the matter is that that's, for me, the concept, just understanding that adversity is good, right, takes away a lot of the pressure that we put on issues. Now that's I needed to lay that foundation. So someone is in a marriage, things are not, you finally find out that you are in an abusive marriage, right? What do you do? People will tell you stay for the children, find a way, all sorts of things, but they are more leaning to stay for the children, endure. They are more, what's the word now? Dangerous statements like pray, and, it's the Nigerian slogan, watch war room, and I'm sure the US guys who made that movie, I'm sure that's what Tyler Perry who made that movie, I'm sure that's not what he wanted. Even if that's what he wanted, I need him to get married so that he can go through that situation himself. But so they say all kinds of crazy stuff, and we are pressured as people. We are pressured as people to listen because it feels like um there's a repeat of these kinds of things. So what did that other woman do? Did she succeed? And all of that. And we're a superstitious people primarily. But speaking about this in the Nigerian context, right? And in generally in any context, but you're just looking at Nigerian women and how their responses and how they should respond to this thing. I think that you should find counsel. You know, it might look like a lot, so it will be difficult to say, okay, make my decisions, because you're making your decisions on the go. They're spur of the moment decisions. The very first thing you should do is find safety. Find it. Like if you have to leave, you need to go hiding for a day or two, find it. And I'll use the case study which was, the case that was online very recently.
Oh,
A woman came online, posted, showed a bloody face, and by afternoon, she was reconciled with her spouse. I don't want to go into the extra detail of the fact that it was a governor, and then there was a press conference, because most women won't get a governor or a press conference. What most women will get is my family meeting, which is their press conference, and that's where they will have the woman will still beg, or the man will say, I'm sorry, and she will go back. Or if it's not the family meeting, it will be a church intervention. So yes, so everybody does that. Just that her own case was a governor. So it will either be a church intervention, or the imam comes, blah 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 blah. Or if it's traditionally, they even go into sacrificing, you pay a fine, you drop a goat. So it's literally the same protocol that women go through. However, just that this woman's one was publicized. But the first thing I'll tell women to do, don't post on social media. You're giving yourself a lot more pressure. Don't post. What you should have is evidence. So yes, if she had, do a video of that, take, if you have, as it were, evidence, you've been hit, something, or he's shouting, have a recording, yes. But do not post on social media. You just increased your pressure rate to 1,000, because people are going to sensationalize it. They're not doing it for the empathy. They're just going to sensationalize. So you've already created an unnecessary pressure for yourself. So have it as evidence. If our systems work, fantastic, then you can follow through. However, but the first thing is you can keep your evidence, and then you follow it up, with the proper available channels. And the truth of the matter is that there are available channels, and that's why, because Nigeria is the way it is, there are support systems everywhere. There's really nowhere you will go that you will not find support, and that's literally what HERfessions can do for you, and all other NGOs that work in this space. You're able to hold your hand and say, okay, now you have evidence, fantastic. Have you gone to the police? Okay, if you have not gone, we'll go together. Do you need a lawyer? Of course you need a lawyer, and all of that. Some cases, and cases I've handled, don't have to go all the way to sentencing, like a jail term. A lot of times therapy can do the work. So for example, if it's not at the point of physical abuse, and you find that things are wrong, communication is always an issue. Like there's communication breakdown. So it's, if you can't speak to your spouse any longer, as it were, where there is a consensus, then therapy can do that. It's in the case where therapy isn't being heeded, and which is typical. A lot of us do not pay, we don't give reverence, as it were, to. So and look at, let's be honest, how many people go to the hospitals, to even get treated for malaria? We'll rather go to a pharmacy, and all of that. So that's how we don't take these things very serious. So you can imagine malaria, you're not going to hospital. Is it emotional abuse?
yeah, we like self-medication.
Like what, they'll say, well, we don't get mad in this night. So if you're going to say hospital, they're like, no, I'm not mad. Why am I going there? That's the only emotional health challenge that we know. That if it's only when I'm running mad and I'm going naked, that's when you go to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So there are a lot of things to change in our system. However, when you get to that point where you can't take it any longer, I always say particularly when emotional abuse is already in it. Because for me, that's strongest than physical abuse. Because from emotional abuse, your self-esteem begins to leave you. And if there are children in that marriage or in that relationship, they get affected. They see. Children copy. They see. They live up what is right in front of them. So before something gets to physical abuse, it's gone really bad. Because how do you get to the point where you've been so cowed down that someone hits you and it's okay? I saw sometime online, which is why our work is very online, like trying to change the norms and the culture of how people are. And a lady wrote and said, come, if your boyfriend doesn't beat you, doesn't love you.
What?
And yeah, and to be honest, I laughed. But in that laugh, just like you just shared, there was a lot of deep-seated pain, because I'm like, how did she get to the point where she actually thinks that it is love that drove a boyfriend to beat you? How?
Wow.
What did she see? What examples did she see growing up? But the honest truth is that a lot of women think that. Oh, a lot of women do think that your beats you, anyone correct you now in Nigerian parlance. He want correct you. He only beats now, he beats you now. He want correct you now. You're wondering, okay, so it's a man's place to correct a woman now. Who is correcting him? Okay, so when he annoys me, can I beat him too? So those are little things that we need to begin to so we need to talk about these things a lot more to let people realize that no, this is faulty thinking and this is faulty behavior. So like I said, you're in that kind of situation, report the issues. If you have evidence, it's not to be shared with in the public domain. Evidence is to be shared with law enforcement agencies. They are the ones who are able to use evidence. But if you bring it to social domain, what you want is social justice. And a lot of times, social justice comes with its pressure, particularly pressure that is not good, because it's the society that still shames women who leave. It's the same society that perpetuates the cycle of abuse. So, truth of the matter is that society cannot help you. It's our laws with a guide that can help you and get redress for you, over these things.
I totally agree. Like in our society, there's a burden on women that your sole purpose in life is to get married, and once you get married, you have to do everything you can to stay in that marriage. And I think it's just wrong, and it causes more harm than good. I like how you said that people just say pray or watch War Room, because that brings me to my next point on the church. The general response of the church in such situations is to quote the Bible verse that says you're not supposed to get divorced, or you're supposed to serve your husband, he's the head of the home, and all that. But they forget to read the whole passage that also says that the husband should love his wife the way Christ loves the church. Can you just tell me your opinion on this common theme of the church convincing victims to remain in such homes, and when does it become enough?
Okay, so the specific scripture that people quote is God hates divorce, but God does not hate the divorcee. It's as simple as that. God doesn't hate the divorcee. So that's my answer. However, you know, so this is the thing. The society has failed us, and by society, is church, is mosque, is even the law enforcement sometimes, right? So I like to take the conversations usually away from the religious um, settings, and I'm not saying I'm excusing them, but I say that to say that um, we need to get to the point where we are humans. We feel our own issues differently. So you must do you. You see that whole thing that people talk about, motivational speaking, do you, do you, do you. Literally, society norms you like this is the way we should do things, which is okay. But there are circumstances that are peculiar to you that you must do you. And that's where, slight changes begin to come up. But, just speaking to religious settings and how women are promoted continually as weaker vessels, it's because society is generally a patriarchal society. So who is interpreting the Bible? Is it not the men? So they will interpret it as it is comfortable to them. Meanwhile, the Bible is a living document. If we as women would just be more open, you will be shocked at the things that clearly come to you as revelation. But I'm not going to, because I'm a person of faith, and these are deep conversations, but we're talking about in the context of abuse. So I'll simply say this: most churches are beginning to realize that that's not a stance to take. Just of course, they are still subtle, say things as subtly as, but a lot more churches are realizing now that if it's going to the point where somebody's going to die, they will ask the person to leave.
Yeah.
You know, so that's that. Nobody is even saying, oh, get divorced. Of course, even our Nigerian laws don't just let you get divorced immediately. You have to go through separation first before that. So there's already an acculturation that is there guiding, and that tells you how patriarchal our society already is.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole context of woman submits to the husband, there's the part where the Bible, that same Bible says, man love, and loving to the point where you die like Jesus died for the church. How many men can stand a nail? Let's not go too far, just a nail going through their hands. So that's the kind of love that Bible says you should have for your wife. If that is even a fraction of the love that men practice in Nigeria, since we're using the Nigerian context, we will not have issues. We will have less issues. But there's a lot of self-serving love being, passed around. And that's honestly what, patriarchy, propagates. The other person is weaker, the other person has no voice. There's a power play. That's where all of these things are. So I would say to a Christian woman, this is not, and I say that from with all sense of responsibility and as a person of faith myself, and that is that don't shortchange yourself because of the pressure of a church community, because that's what it is. We always are thinking about what will people say. That's where the problem is. The problem is not you're not thinking about how am I going to fend for the children. How am I going to, if they're children, that is, how am I going to pick up the pieces of my life? While those questions are there, they are secondary questions. The first question is, what will people say? And for me, I find that very disturbing, because these are people that probably came for your wedding, didn't give you any gifts, ate your food for free, and this is me taking you to the extreme, ate your food for free, even insulted you that there was no pepper in your rice, and then leave your wedding with your souvenirs, don't care about how you lived your marriage, but all of a sudden they hear that you are going through a rocky time, and they're like, I knew it. For crying out loud, they need to purge. But yeah, but this is just me being, jovial about it. But so you can imagine, people, the honest truth, people don't really care. If it's not for news and gist, people don't really care. And of course, this is me also saying that, we begin to get to the point where we begin to become empathic and, just do things because we want to, not because that's what everybody's doing, So, and that was an aside, but I'm just saying, live for you, live. There's a slang we say live to live, live as in LEAVE, to live, LIVE, like live to live. So if you need to take a break, I always say to women, and I remember there was a conversation I had with a young man, and he laughed about it, and I said, if you have to leave 10 times and come back and leave and come back, do it. It's just that the earlier you realize that you can't stay here, the better for you. But if you have to leave, leave. If you are convinced at that point that your life is threatened, leave. And another thing that we need to do, even as advocates, this is just me saying to advocates and family members who have people who are going through these kinds of things, is the honest truth, you really can't get tired to the point where you leave them alone, where you leave a victim alone. Because a lot of times victims will go and come back to that situation, and you become exasperated because it now feels like, oh, you are the one who is the quote unquote third party. You are the one who doesn't want the marriage to work and all of that. You really can't get it, particularly when you see a genuine case of the woman being in trouble. It will take a while for her to come to her senses and realize, I can't do this any longer. But she must always know that there's somebody who will help her no matter what. Because I've had those issues with some women who have had to work with, who, they've done that dance 2-3 times, and at the third time, they were completely alone. They didn't have family support. They didn't have anyone support. But they did it at the end, at the long run, and it was more stressful. But you don't do this kind of thing without support. You don't, because normally the world is wired against your, as it were. So so this is just an extra to say, for advocates, for family members who have loved ones in these positions, you really can't get tired. You must assure them that no matter what, we're here. No matter, it can be annoying, but no matter what, we're here.
Yeah. That's great. I also want to talk about something that you mentioned earlier when we are talking about marriages, and you brought up the topic of children. Sometimes victims say that they stayed because of the children and providing for them. I personally think that this is worse because the children are then forced to grow up in such situations and it affects them mentally and in many other ways. So, what are your general thoughts on this?
So yes, it's the same opinion that I hold. Um, no child deserves to grow in a home is abusive. It's a broken home, whether the father and mother are there together or not. It's broken home. We have a way of labeling children who are raised by single parents. But I know people who are married who bear Mrs. Something, who have a husband, but they are single moms. They raise the kids alone. The father is never there. He just gives birth to more children, and even if they are past giving birth age, he's never really there. The mother is the father and mother, even in a marriage. So so the truth of the matter is that a lot of these answers, the coach route and say, do you don't stay for the children. Is it does it because what you do is that you let the children live through secondary trauma, and that's worse, because what they are doing is that they're living your life. They can see the trouble that you are going through. So the children will see the fights, the children will see the name calling, the children will see the deprivation of the finances, the children will see all these things and will normalize it, because children only do what they see, not what they are told. So there will be children who will do these things and will see them as normal. So that's why a girl will see a guy beat her and she will not question it because she has seen her mother live through it. Or a young man will see the father and mother constantly arguing and how the mother talks back to the father, and so he will ensure that if he's with a girlfriend, she will never talk back to him, because he has seen that every time his mom talks back to her father, he gets the father, because children can see ego, children can see shame. They can see it. You think that you don't, but they can see it. So the boy can see, oh, his father is that anytime the mother talks at his father, he's so shamed that he beats her. So because he will vow that he will never beat a woman because he saw his mom. However, he has picked up the vice of, so she will not talk back to me. So these things they as what, see, second trauma is as warped as it can be. So if you are in such a situation and people tell you to stay because of the children, what's the okay? So the children grow, you have money to take care of them, but they turn out very emotionally imbalanced people. Are those people? Isn't that the reason why society is the way it is?
Yeah.
But if you are able to live, you pick your pieces together. Nobody says it's going to be easy, and that's why we always emphasize find a support system. It's not going to be easy. There are days you're going to wish you did not you shouldn't have left. There are days you're going to be broke and you're going to be wondering where the next meal will come from. But that's why there's a support system, because there will be now better days that you would have lived through all of that, and then you'll be able to say, thank God I did this for my children. But you see what's capitalized on and why the stigma stays is that a lot of times society sees when the woman is struggling, when she's completely broke, when she has lost all her dignity, and so society capitalizes on that bad part and say, you are going to go and suffer. In pidgin, you go suffer. You're just going to suffer yourself. So society sees that and normalizes that is the problem that comes with living. And that's why I said at the very beginning that adversity is good. But we as a people, we don't like it. But that's what we all go through. for you also get to, if you want to become a chartered accountant, you must do ICANN. And everybody knows that ICANN is war. Even I'm not an accountant, but I know my friends who are writing ICANN, it's like they want to die. Imagine doing all of that, or a medical student, all of that time of studying. That's war, that's adversity. Going to school is adversity because nobody likes to read, for exam as it were. So there are things that we do just because we know that there is light at the end of the other tunnel. So we need to realize sometimes, most times, adversity is good. So once we are able to see that, we're able to say, okay, I will suffer it, yes, but my children will not live to normalize this habit, because the truth of the matter is that they are formed with it. It will take longer time and money to correct that when they are older.
Yeah.
But if you leave and they're still young and whatever, you can change it by bringing good examples around them.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. It just repeats the cycle of abuse. The children go on and some become abusers, some go into abusive relationships, some can't function in relationships at all due to the emotional imbalance and all. In conclusion, where do you think we can go from here as a society? I remember listening to a show and they mentioned the Nigerian constitution and the rights of women. Like in the penal code, wife beating is allowed as long as it doesn't amount to grievous hurts. So that means like a man can beat his wife short of inflicting injuries on her face and disfiguring her face and things like that. It's allowed within the law. And then also, an assault on males is punishable by a minimum of 3 years imprisonment. But a similar offense, like an assault on a female, is treated as a mere misdemeanor and it's punishable by a maximum of 2 years imprisonment. And I was like, wow. So I started doing some research and I discovered a couple of policies that had been brought up, but majority of them have not taken effect yet. So what are your general thoughts on where you think we can go from here as a society?
So the truth of the matter is that for me, the basic, like the root cause of all of this is our gender norming and stereotyping.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the cause of all of this is from, and basically just the perpetuation of patriarchy. Um, so we'll keep working at trying, just changing all of those things, and we've done. I like to say that we've done well for ourselves, because now there are more women who know their onion. There are more women who are comfortable in their own skin. There are more women who are not pressured, quote unquote, into marriage or marriages
Yeah.
and all of that. So yes, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of policies, to be formulated. Of course, there are conversations and just general, as it were, awareness, on creating policies that are that are beneficial to women, you know. So there's that. There's also, just also creating awareness to the general public. But more than anything else, for me, I'm very particular about norming, social norms, gender stereotyping. Um, so, so these are questions that will normally, I would always normally ask when I'm doing something like this, because I think that it's important that we ask ourselves these questions and find these answers. I know the answers, but it's important. Who
Yeah.
says that when a woman gets married, she must change her name? Why? And now the new thing we do in this generation is that you don't just take the guy's surname, you won't take his name. So if you are Rita and you are getting married to a Peter Ayeni, you now become Rita Peter Ayeni. You did it's we laugh about it, and but these are questions. So who says that? Who says that on once you get married to someone? So for example, maybe after your wedding night, immediately the next morning, a guy who used to cook for himself before, all of a sudden you start cooking for him. Who says that as a woman you're the one supposed to do the cooking? Who says as a woman that, okay, after you've given birth to the child, you're the one who will nurture the child through? Why aren't we having fathers who are, taking care? Have you noticed that it's easier for a woman to speak to a girl about issues? But really, have you checked the conversations that happen between men and their fathers? They're silent. So we need to have more male mentors. Like, we cannot overemphasize that, because as women, we are limited in how much we can really do, and that's the honest truth. Except I don't want to say except, I don't want to make exceptions, but there are those conversations that we need to have, and just generally probe why. Why do we say a woman must do this? Why do we say a man is the one that does this? The man is the provider of the home, really? And the family is now where the man and the woman are earning an income. Why do we still stick to that? Man is provider of the home. Meanwhile, the woman's money is going into things that could get out to the home. We say those kinds of things, but those things are not really happening. Even when men come back to you with things like, and the woman's money is her money and the man's money is our money. Is the woman's money truly her own money? Truly, in the scheme of things, is she not still using it for the family at some point, somehow? So these questions, these things, these stereotypes, as they are, we need to begin to interrogate them as a people, and begin to see why. Because before War Room came on board, and it's such a disservice to women. That movie, as far as I'm concerned, is such a disservice to women. Because I'm sure there was a different message that was pushed, but clearly not for the Nigerian woman. You didn't have the Nigerian woman, in context. But the media itself, how does it portray women? So, for example, the woman who went viral sometime during the week about, for a press conference that usually lasts 30 minutes, tops an hour, how come it was only 1 minute clip of the woman pleading to Nigerians to forgive her husband? Are you saying that there was no clip of the man speaking to apologize? What did the governor have to say, for example? But you see, the media helped in pushing that narrative of you are the one who made the mess of putting your dirty linen outside. So we have tagged it as dirty linen outside. That's the subtle reminder, subtle way that has been pushed. And so you are going to clean it up. So it's the woman that was coming to beg. The man could have as well come out to beg. Or look at it in cases where men have gone philandering. Look at Nice, for example, who had a cheating scandal of recent, and the conversation was twisted to say the woman too should what is there, so these are just listen to the conversations that we have to endure in daily life. You want to wonder, how are people thinking? Are you sure people are not more broken than we actually admit to? Because a lot of broken people in our society, and you'll be shocked at how much of those people have been raised in dysfunctional families with father and mothers. So those will be my final words.
And I think that point you raised about the media is very valid, because even down to the way they write headlines. For example, when you see a rape case and it's portrayed as it's what she was doing, where she was going, what she was wearing, things like that. Like all these little details, they just change the whole narrative and distort the story and make people not to realize that this is actually a problem, and everyone just ends up fighting and dropping invalid comments and opinions online. So yeah, the media plays a very major role in our society, and I think that's something that we as a people need to work on.
Sure.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Osasu. Thank you for your inputs. It was really, really insightful, and I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners too have learned a lot from these few minutes. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you are welcome anytime, and you're doing an amazing work as well. So keep it up.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to our podcast on your preferred platform, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes. Thank you.